home audio entertainment.
9016 Radio.
The show for artists of all kinds.
Sit down and relax. Enjoy the music.
Okay, Hamish, your turn.
Good to go?
Good to go.
Sound good. Welcome, Hamish. Wax.
Thanks.
What should I call you? What do you prefer?
Probably Hamish.
Have you gotten used to the Wax Mustang name?
Yeah, it's usually one or the other, though. Like, I wouldn't usually say that people call me both. It's either a Mustang, aggressively, or a light wax.
A light wax.
A light.
That must be a strange thing to... Was it quite quick to adapt to like people calling you that, like at the start before you sort of blew up?
Yeah.
Was it just weird?
Yeah, it did happen very quick, but I think that was just because it was people that obviously I didn't know.
Yeah, right.
So it's foreign anyway, someone yelling at you just as a human reaction. But like my friends can't call me either of those.
Yeah.
Or it's like an instant
strange.
like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, what did you just say?
It is odd, especially someone that you've known for so long. Like
Yeah.
all the guys you went to school with calling you that. It's kind of like...
Yeah, it kind of turns into more of an ironic thing. Like,
Yeah.
often Damo
Yeah, for
would
sure.
be like, oh, Wax Mustang. And I was like, come on, man.
But that's so like... I don't know, part of the gimmick, right, to sort of hide behind like a name. Not that you have anything to hide, but like
Yeah.
it just sort of becomes the norm.
It becomes, it's almost more like a character, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
Yeah.
something I'm presenting to be.
Yeah. I think I would struggle. I think I would actually prefer most of the time to be called something other than my own name, to be fair.
Right.
Like, but it depends what it is. And I feel like whatever I made up, because did you come up with Wax Mustang or was that Ballsy?
No, that was me. It was at Duke Street, that flat that you, Damo, and Ballsy had. And I vividly remember us going out for a cigarette and just me saying to Damo, you can only call me Wax Mustang from now on. I don't know why I put it together or how, but this was even way before I was rapping. So
Yeah, well, that was. I remember the name that we'd come up with at that point, and it was just such a funny, like absurdly sort of like,
What is this?
wasn't really going to use it, but just like a funny
Yeah.
name to use, and then it just all sort of popped off.
yeah, once I started actually making music, and I was like, wow, this is actually a perfect name for this.
So when I sort of missed your transition period, because when we were on that Duke Street flat, you were making beats in our studio room that we had there, and that was quite a different sound to what you have now. And I don't think I was around you when you sort of like gravitated to that. So when was that sort of switch up? Did you sort of decide that you weren't going to like go down that route anymore? Because it was a bit more pop trappy sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
like that track you did with Tane was a bit more in that realm of things as opposed to the more sort of like boom bappy stuff that you're doing now at the moment. When was that sort of point of change?
I think it was not just the music I was making, but everything in my life sort of changed after that year, like the clothes I was wearing or just how we would talk or communicate. I think probably, I guess the biggest factor would have been Damo doing a few more shows and putting us into a different crowd of people.
Sure.
Probably changed us a wee bit. You know, like camos for me then were huge. Like I would never put on a pair of those now. So it was just over that summer, you know, after we were at that flat. That would have been, when were you guys?
2017, I think.
2017. So like going into 2018, I was like, that's not me. I'm more into the funny side of things.
Sure.
Not so serious.
Yeah. It definitely like fits you. Like I haven't obviously known you as long as like the other guys have, but like I've always known Hamish Calder to be the funny guy. And it's sort of just, I don't know if that annoys you with that.
No, I mean, I'm not going to call myself that, but it's just more like, just how I've communicated with people or what I've enjoyed in my life is that side of things, not so serious or it just wasn't me. So it just happened naturally.
It just fits. It just fits you perfectly, and it's like it was meant to be. Because like a big part of what I enjoyed being around you when we were younger at parties at that around that time was the freestyles and things that you put up was always hilarious. So it just made sense that would become part of the music somehow. Because that in itself is a talent to be able to just pull words out of nowhere and just make rhymes and things.
Yeah, and it was, but the actual switch of being like, oh, actually, I enjoy this way more would have been Salsa, one of those songs I had on the first EP. Me and Ballsy were literally like, let's try and rap just for the fuck of it, you know. And that's what came out, and I was like, oh, that's sick. Fantastic. Like, all right, well, we'll go from here then.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, you're always pretty, and are still really good with lyrics. I always admired the way you could put lyrics together, and even the stuff before what you're doing now.
Yeah.
To be able to create more melodic sort of lyrics and passages and things, that was like, damn, this guy can actually write stuff.
Yeah.
Are you still making beats as well?
Yeah, more so now. You know, that's probably been the biggest factor of Last 6 months anyway.
Have you been relying on anyone in particular for beat making? Like I know Damon, Jack Berry has been doing a lot of production for you up until now.
Yeah, for sure. And it was, I mean, I always started the tracks, you know, and it was usually with a sample. Like, had enough knowledge to cut up something or chop it or at least get a loop out. And then, you know, Damon would come in then and just make it incredible and sound good. I was awful. Like, I still to this day will punch my laptop over drums. You know, like, it's so frustrating. So he had far more knowledge and skill in that realm. So naturally he just did that and it turned out fantastic. But beat making is really enjoyable for me. Just when I want to do music, not necessarily rap or write something, just to make some music. So yeah, when I first started, I was probably coming in at quite harsh, you know, like make a beat, but now it's just more like this is just to do some music, really.
Fun to make hard hitting stuff too. A lot of your production, that I saw when you were doing it was pretty hard hitting stuff.
Yeah,
had you sort of developed that Mustang sound on your own, like with that your own beat sort of start with when you decided you were going to head in that direction? Yeah,
it was almost disco music. Like that's what I always said. It was like disco music that I rap on, and that's always been at the back of my mind as a young kid, just from mum listening to like ABBA, you know, like I love that music, and just stumbling across that combination of rapping on top of that, something quite foreign, it got me off. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, it's such a unique sound in its own way. Like it's so familiar, but it's also so foreign at the same time. And I think you've tapped into a market that is huge in Dunedin. I think that's been part of your success. Is like there's a whole, you know, like your clientele, so to speak, is most of Dunedin. Like they've just clicked on to this character that you've created through your music. It's just, I think that's what's led to you blowing up so much. Yeah. How have you sort of like come to terms with that? Like, is it still sort of a weird thing to think? Because you're like just one landmark, you've hit 10k followers on Instagram. Like that in itself is pretty absurd. Like, how have you sort of found, is it still not really hit yet, or are you sort of quite accustomed to it now?
I would say that lockdown forced me to like look at it, you know, like, because from the moment I played my first gig, I literally went for like a year and a half at probably playing 3 gigs a month, or at least 2 a month. So it was constant. It's not until you like sit back and look at it and be like, oh, that's fucked up. Yeah. So, you know, it was almost unconscious. So you go through that, and then something like lockdown hit and everything stopped, and I don't see people on the streets anymore, or I'm not playing shows. And I was like, God, this is what is going on. You know, it literally is like a dream. It's like you're just going with the motion and going with the flow, and you stop and you're like, shit. You know, this is
pretty crazy thing. Like just being at, we were both at a gig at Starters Bar one night, and we were having a chat outside, and I think 2 or 3 times through the conversation, someone would come up to you and be like, Mustang, can we get a photo? Yeah. And it was so strange because, again, I was sort of like out of your world there for a while. So, like, to sort of see you getting that much recognition was like, this is so absurd. Like, where has this come from?
Yeah, and it's even, you know, I think it will forever be a thing when people come up to me and acknowledge me or say hello. It's still like an honor for me. I'm like, shit, you know, this person cares, and that's weird.
Yeah, of course, have a photo.
Like, so, and crazy. I think it will forever be like that. There's always a couple of occasions where I'm just like, fuck. Like, I can't do some of the things that I used to do, you know.
For sure. Yeah, you're definitely in the public eye now. There's things you have to watch, I suppose.
Yeah. So it's just that, but like, yeah, it is messed up. And once you say that and acknowledge that, then it's back to business, you know. It's not like forever like, wow, like, look at my life, you know, like in the mirror every day.
It obviously, like, when it's happening for so long, like over a couple of years, it just becomes a new norm, right? Yeah. And I suppose, like, being around a group of people that are also doing music and sort of, like, are, you know, familiar, or at least have that on their horizon to reach a level of fame. Mm-hmm. There's sort of that expectancy, and like you sort of almost, I can imagine you sort of get past a point, or you sort of miss the point where you started to get popular, because like it was always in your mind that you were going to succeed in some way or another, but like you sort of have to look back, and lockdown would be the perfect sort of time to be like, oh wow,
sure,
like,
that's what I mean. What's happened. Literally kind of forced me to do that. Yeah, I went down to Alexandra, where my mother has a batch or crib, whatever you want to call it there, and I was there by myself, but the plan was for the boys to come down, you know, Riley or Damo, and we would get some stuff done, and I thought fantastic, but I just honestly cocked up the times, and I got like 4 days in, I was like, oh, they're not going to be able to come down actually, so I was like, shit, here we go, like 6 weeks in this house, like I don't think I can ever go back there.
Oh, this was lockdown time.
This was lockdown time.
Shit. Yeah.
And like Alexandra already isn't a very exciting town. It's lovely for a couple of days.
It's a holiday spot for a reason. Yeah.
It's a holiday spot for a reason. You know, some people live there, but God knows why. But anyway, it just was so full on from the get-go. I'd go to the supermarket and that was literally the only thing open, maybe a Foursquare as well, and a petrol station. And I'd just be like, what? I'd be going to the supermarket every day just to talk to people, because I'd gone from things flying everywhere to like nothing. Just like,
so it was just you in the house.
Just me in this house.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's really time to think.
It was a very telling time. I learned a lot about myself.
For sure.
I think the worst thing was I got to the end of lockdown and I was like, shit, I don't feel like I've been talking any less than I usually would, which worries me because I was by myself. I feel like if you have a day where you didn't talk to anyone, you would be like, oh, you'd just be reaching to hang out with someone or just go do something.
Sure.
But it didn't feel like that, which was the worrying part. I would never do, like, I hope there is never another lockdown unless I could get through it again with friends, and that would, it's a must.
Because you are quite the guy to be around people, like you quite often are wanting to hook things up, be around people.
For sure, it needs to happen like every day for me. I have to, and I think it will be like that for a long time. I have to hang out with my friends because otherwise I'll go insane.
And you were like that before this lockdown?
Yeah.
Or you think that's developed more?
It's probably developed more 10 times. I think everyone in my friend group would tell you, like, if you're not there tonight, I'm probably going to roast you. Where are you? I need to hang out with my friends.
Fuck, yeah, that is a long time to be by yourself. I mean, I had one other person when during lockdown, and that was just enough, Like, it's just someone else to like just say things
Hello.
and like talk about the experience. Yeah, exactly. Just to say good morning to someone.
Yeah.
Were you making like what was your daily routine during that time?
I was really good for the first like 3 weeks because I was still on that, like, I can get so much done during this period.
Yeah.
So it was good for that, and I like started cooking again. Like, I love cooking.
Sick, yeah.
I started cooking again, and I actually took a bunch of weed down with me. So I mean, I was like in Alexandra. It was hot. I set, my studio, whatever that is, up in the lounge, and I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to get so much done. And I got to like end of 4 weeks. I was like, fuck this.
It gets too repetitive, because that becomes the task that you must have to do.
Yeah.
You've got really nothing else to do.
Yeah, and I ordered in a Mac from Noel Leeming.
Oh, shit.
I was like, shit, now, because my computer was starting to go slower and slower. I was like, right, I just want to do this just because I want it. I just want it. Yeah. So I did it. But what happened was, because I'm not much of a TV watcher unless we're playing video games.
Sure.
But this Mac, this became the hub for like everything throughout the day. Like, not only was I making music on this thing, I was burning hours on YouTube or just everything, any communication with friends that was on video chat. So this Mac, I just felt like I was looking at it for like 5 weeks, and it was just a reminder of like, I need everyday life and everyday conversations to make music. Like, I can't.
Definitely.
You can't just pull it out of the ground.
So it wasn't like a time where you sort of got into your feelings a bit more and that came through. Like, what would be did any big tracks come out of that lockdown? Or was it really just like a random sort of music period?
There'd be a couple of things that, might be out in the future, but for the most part, it was just for lack of a better word, garbage. I was like, this stuff is good, probably to a lot of people's standards, but it wasn't what I wanted to make, and I was just like, I'm forcing myself.
Yeah, sure.
I'm forcing myself I want to make music, but at the end of the day, I'm sitting in that chair, and it's a task.
God. So what do you go for walks and things like that?
I don't. This is the worst part about the whole thing. This probably makes me sound like an absolute pig, but I said to someone when I got back, I don't actually think I've walked past the mailbox because that's where my car was parked. I know people would tell me like, oh, why don't you go for a run? Or, not like that. They'll be like, go for a run or go for a walk. I'd be like, that's not me. If you saw me jogging down the street, you would instantly pull over your car and probably call the police. So, no, I honestly, this is full serious. I don't think I walked past my mailbox.
Well, I mean, you still went to the supermarket and stuff like that.
I mean, I walked around there.
But you can't really count that, I suppose, because it's a necessity, not really like a,
I was
I'm going to go out the
there.
house today.
Like, I was going every day just to see some humans walking around.
Was the weather crazy? Alex would be pretty nice around that time of year.
Yeah, it was a mixed bag though, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like it was hot some days and then freezing some days.
Yeah.
I fell in love with lighting a fireplace. I mastered the art of lighting a fireplace.
Fantastic. That's lovely.
Yeah. So there was a few positives came out of it, but for the most part, just I would never do that again.
No, definitely not. I don't think I would encourage that or think that myself would be comfortable in that sort of environment. I mean, I love having time by myself, don't get me wrong, and I love sort of the independence, but you sort of lose a lot of that independence in that moment because, there's literally only so much that you can do with yourself. I think you probably would go a bit crazy. Like I wouldn't say I went crazy, but in the lockdown, it definitely got to sort of a boiling point where it was just like there was no agenda, and you sort of come to terms with that, and you just end up potting around, and I sort of became more fluid in like my movement between doing things, very stern and sort of like getting to and from places in the house. It's kind of a bizarre thing to experience, but
for sure,
it was so nice to actually just like that. For the first couple of weeks was sick. Yeah,
for sure, and it was quite exciting. I felt like a bit of a kid, I was like,
definitely,
holy shit, we're going, like everything's shut off.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits that I got out of it, and a small part of me obviously would never wish this seriously, but like part of me later on the year was like, man, it'd be nice to have another lockdown, just to have another couple of weeks to just decompress a wee bit.
See, I think everyone thinks that. I think everyone says, oh, like if I did it this time, I would do it this way. But something like that is so sprung on you,
shit.
And it's so unexpected. We've never had a lockdown in our lives before, so how can you approach that? But
sure.
I guess if you had another go at it, you'd probably do it a bit better. But
yeah, definitely.
I think just the overall idea of being stuck somewhere
that is very bizarre, and definitely lucky that we only had 6 weeks of it. Rather than other countries that have been just completely fucked with it, But yeah, I mean, anything like that, you're going to learn from that experience rather than like, I don't think anyone seriously would have gone, right, what am I going to do with this lockdown time? Like, how am I perhaps to a point being like, how am I going to be so productive? But you can't predict it. You got to be like, right, this is time at home to do nothing. And that's just like the reality of what we have to do here.
I wish that's how I approached it, but I was more like, I'm going to come out here with the greatest album of all time. And I didn't. In fact, don't be surprised if I come out of there with 2 songs. But
oh man, well, like I mean, you can. It's one thing to go like without any lockdown restrictions. It's one thing to go right. I'm going to lock myself in the studio for 2 weeks, and I'm going to make the best album of all time because you still have all the freedoms that you would usually have. But this is just like you are literally there for 4 weeks, like a whole month to do that, and it just it gets to a point where it just becomes a tedious task, I would imagine.
Well, that's what it does.
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to actually ask on the way here. I was like, I wonder if I have a question for Kieran. I think the leading one is,
may I smoke a cigarette?
Well, no, not that. What is the dart record in here?
Oh, the record.
Yeah,
I would say Silas probably hit the record, but that was only like maybe 4 or 5.
Okay,
I actually don't know.
Well, I'll try not to go over there. If I do, I'm in trouble.
You do your thing, mate. Are you still smoking the JPS longs?
Yeah. I mean, I've tried quite a few cigarettes in my life and got stuck to a few. But one consistent factor being that they're long.
But they're not.
They
it's
are.
just the filter.
No, it's not. It's not.
I wish I had another one to compare to, but it doesn't look any longer than like a normal cigarette.
Well, either way, it feels like it. My main issue is that when I drive, I smoke like a train. Like,
yeah, right.
Something about music and driving, I just honestly, it's
absolutely.
ridiculous. So
absolutely.
At least it makes me feel like they go longer.
What sort of stuff are you listening to at the moment?
At the moment, Benny's new album, actually.
True.
I can't get off it.
That's sick.
I can't get off it. It's scattered amongst a bunch of weird sort of things that might pop into my head.
Yeah, for
from high school,
True.
Like quite a bit of Earl, but early Earl, not new Earl.
You don't like his new stuff?
No, I do. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit of a throwbacker in the terms of that it gives me a feeling or an image in my head from when we were listening to that music.
Sure. Yeah.
So
it's a nostalgia thing as well.
It's a nostalgia thing, yeah. But Benny's new album, I can't get off it, honestly. I think anyone in my flat would tell you it just... There's not really any skips in there for me. I can just have that thing just rolling.
It's quite a diverse album too. There's a lot of sort of back and forward, and the production sounds really good. Like the final product of all the stuff that's on there sounds really good, like quality wise. But I guess that's to be expected from someone as big as her.
Yeah, for sure.
That's another artist that has blown up crazy. Like again, just hit a market that like didn't even know was there, and people just love.
That's it.
You know.
Yeah, and we came across each other quite a few times, and it's probably a good reality check for me because I'm like, sometimes I will be like, God, there are some things in my life that I can't do anymore, and that frustrates me. But that's another level, That's like the fan pages and like when that stuff.
Absurd.
Like,
there's got to be a Mustang page out there somewhere.
I don't think there is, and I don't wish it to happen. Like, that freaks me out.
I feel like that is more of a trend with female artists than male artists. You don't often see like a male artist fan page. Granted, there are some, but like I feel like it's typically more female artists that like. I think it's just something that people like to do. For that kind of artist, I don't know why. Yeah, that's a wild presumption, but that's just I've seen more of that.
Yeah, no, for sure, that's fair. So it's a good reality check for me to be like, hey, actually, this could be a lot more full on than it is.
Yeah,
and you're very lucky. So,
I mean, like, where do you see yourself heading though? Like, surely this is just going to increase for you because, like, this is a huge, like, the style of music that you're, and again, the audience that you're hitting is widely spread around New Zealand and no doubt a lot of Australia too. Like that could easily flow into America as well. Like, is there a point like would you want it all, or are you kind of like trying to keep it local? Like, I suppose you can't really control where your music goes, but what's your ideal sort of like sitting spot?
Like, you always want the music to get bigger or as big as possible because the shows, the live factor, or just people sending you messages is actually really, it makes you feel like what you've made is worth something.
And your life is your work now.
Yeah, for sure.
And vice versa.
I don't really know. Like, there is some things, as I've said, like in my life that I can't do anymore, or that I wish I could do, that just aren't that feasible. So, of course. I mean, I'd love it to get bigger, but there would be a certain point where I'm like, that's enough. That's enough.
Because like also a part of your music is the live performance too. Like a huge part of what sells you is how you perform, and surely it'll get to a point where there's not enough energy to fucking like go so crazy anymore.
Yeah, it's no. I don't think that will ever end. I don't think the feeling of walking on and probably just being as pissed as I am usually. I don't think that feeling will ever end. It's just as good as it was the first time.
Yeah.
So. And that will never go away. It's like how do I explain this? You do want it to get bigger, but as I said, like there's days where I'm just like, whoa, and you don't know that until you come across it. So it's not something you can put your finger on to be like, oh, I just won't do this anymore. There'll be something new that I'm just like, for God's sakes. But in terms of like the live stuff, I've always said this, the smaller venues are 100 times more enjoyable to play. Like, people cramped into a small room, like there's people waiting at the door to get in, the music is 10 times louder, will always be far more enjoyable than whatever stage you give me. I did Western Springs, and that was fucked up to look out there and be like, shit, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of bodies. But you sort of lose that contact you have with the crowd. So I hope I never lose that. And at the stage we're at right now, we just did the tour, and that was like 400, 450 in most places, and that's a good level.
It's a good number.
It's a big crowd, but still close enough that you can get in there and still give the show that I want to give.
For sure, yeah. And when you get to stages of that sort of size, like the much larger ones, there is quite literally a gap, in most cases between the stage and the audience. So you don't have really people right there reaching up to you, which I think is the enjoyable part about your performances live as well, is people getting, quite close to you. Yeah,
I think there's been a few literal barriers between me and the crowd recently. And I
imagine it gets pretty crazy in some places.
It does, but I'm a sucker for still getting in the crowd recently,
Yeah.
Like literally. Literally in the crowd. Like, it just sort of takes me back to a small venue in that sense. If I'm right in the middle of the crowd, you can't get any closer.
Yeah.
I get some vicious back slaps, Like, I think people think they are giving me some confidence or firing me up, but it's like, it's just pain. I just get beaten up in there. But I enjoy it in a sick way,
Yeah, for sure. So part of the experience in itself.
I'm sure it's something I'll learn eventually, how to play bigger venues or whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
But at the moment, I'm taking a shortcut and just jumping into the crowd.
Yeah, Do you find your shows are pretty consistent nationwide, or do you find like you've definitely got more of an audience in, say, Dunedin than anywhere else?
No, I'd say it's pretty consistent. I think it's more, the differences I'll see are more from the actual performance.
Right.
There are nights where I'm like, oh, I couldn't have played any better there.
Yeah, right.
And there are nights where I'm like, God, I wish I did that a wee bit better. So it's only in that side of things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What would be like your worst experience at a live show? If there is one, like I'm sure there's the type of audience there is at your shows.
Yeah, there's worst experiences which I can't talk about because I'll end up spraying a company or a promoter or someone that I can't do.
Let's keep it
just with mics cutting out and things like that.
Sure.
Like that is your worst nightmare, you know. And there's been times where I've been playing and I thought my mic was working. And someone's had to come and say like 5 songs and like, hey, this isn't actually
Seriously,
working.
5 songs?
Yeah, I know,
Jesus.
I know. But so there's that side of things. Worst experience, I did Wellington Toga Party at the start of the year and I dislocated my knee on stage. Like I jumped off a monitor, which, you know, is like 30 centimetres maximum. I mean, that's not a big jump. It's not like I was jumping off, you know, a humongous pole or something.
Yeah.
I literally jumped off a monitor and my knee just went. But I've done that before and that one didn't go instantly back into place, but this one did. It just popped sort of straight back in on the next step.
So you just carried on?
Oh, I had to sit down. But I got given a cocktail of drugs after, from a medic too. I'm still considering whether she was a medic. It was like 7 pills, and I was I was on Pluto. I was floating.
Wait, so you carried on performing?
This was at the end of the set, so it was like I'll sit down for the rest of the set and finish it off.
Oh, right.
Because it's rude not to finish it off.
Yeah, right.
And but this was afterwards. I got given an absolute cocktail. Ballsy would tell I was like a walking zombie.
Jesus.
Yeah. So that would probably be the worst, I guess.
God, that's
but
quite
fun
scary.
Also, now that I look back.
Yeah, for sure. It's a story to tell, isn't it? But that's, you know, surely there's a point where you wait, like, with painkillers, like, it doesn't take much, like, depending what you're giving someone, like,
no
7 pills.
7 pills. Like, I was pissed at the time, but I remember being not pissed enough to say, I'm sorry, I did say, like, is that too much? And she was like, no, you're sweet. Like, I just assumed maybe it was, I don't know what I thought it was, but I think I gobbled them all, and what happened after was just ridiculous. Yeah, just sent me for 6, so.
Fuck. What is it? You've dislocated your knee a couple times, did you say?
Yeah, I did in starters barn maybe first year.
When you're not performing?
Not performing, no. I wasn't even nowhere near an artist. I was 1 year out of school. I remember dislocating in starters bar, and Hunter, a friend of mine, put it back into place right as I was lying down on the floor.
Fuck.
And he did it right by the grace of God. But it's always been a bit touchy since then, and there's been a few occasions where I've been like, oh, that feels funny.
Well, that's the thing, like, if, like, granted it went in all right that time, but that could have just been wrong enough that, like, it did pinch something again. Or, you know.
And I wish, you know, because
slippery slope.
I honestly, I give everything I've got on stage, and I think people know that. Like, I'm fucking buggered when I come off there. So I wish it was a story of, like, this guy's crazy, man. Like, he jumped off, like, a 3-meter drop into, like, a cartwheel.
Oh, well, now you've bugged it. Everyone knows that it wasn't that bad.
No, it was just, I fucked it now. It was literally 30 centimetres is probably overstating. It was ridiculous. I thought that was
just a little.
I was waiting to go.
Yeah. Fuck. I've never done anything that bad. Like, have you broken many bones?
No broken bones. No, just dislocations. I've had a lot of lacerations on my body.
Lacerations.
From stupid shit, like cuts and
sure,
like elbows from reaching through broken windows.
Yeah,
and
classic.
Just dumb shit. And so I've got quite a few scars and such.
Yeah,
but nothing too serious.
I've never broken a bone. Well, I mean, technically, I broke the bone in the joint of my finger here. It's a wee bit funny, but that's technically a bone break. But I don't really count that as actually breaking a bone.
And I feel like in primary school, like I remember Damon having a broken arm. It might have even been a couple times, but I feel like it was just such a normal thing. For a kid to rock up with a cast.
Yeah,
to school
definitely.
And get it signed and like that whole thing.
It's not abnormal.
So it was like you were waiting for your bone break to happen. I mean, I'm sure you were scared of it, but I was sort of like, oh, this will just happen at one point in my life.
I feel like it's some sort of like initiation, like in your youth, to like break your arm at some point.
Yeah.
You know? And I can't believe actually it didn't happen to me, but I wasn't really that, like, I'm definitely a physical kid, but not like in the terms of like, playing bull rush, or I never played rugby or anything like
No.
that. Never really went too hard, almost sort of like
Similar.
skipped down on tackles and things like that.
Yeah.
Or, never really jumped off anything high, or I wasn't much of a tree climber either, so there wasn't a lot of risk for me to actually break anything.
Yeah.
Which is good, but like I feel like now if I broke my arm, it'd be like, fuck, because I don't know what my
what it
pain
feels like.
tolerance
Yeah.
would actually be. Whereas if I had done it when I was young, I'd be like,
Yeah.
you sort of lose a wee bit of fear, I think, and I probably still have a wee bit of that from
Yeah.
not actually breaking anything.
No, for sure. And I know what you mean about being a kid and like being, like I played a lot of sports as a kid, but I've never climbed a tree in my life. Let's put it that way. Like I never was that kid.
Yeah, no.
Or like swinging from things. I'd never done a chin up in my life, so it's not possible. So
Yeah.
I just never did.
There's just some things you just are scared to do as a kid as well. I was talking about this with my flatmates about climbing trees, and they were huge tree climbers, and I just never had that inclination to do it.
Or just urge.
Yeah. It's like
I'm sure it's exciting up
what's
there,
at the
but
top?
I don't really need to find out. It's
No,
just a tree.
definitely not. And I think I've always had a little thing with heights as well. Like I'm typically okay, but there's definitely some occasions where I'm up a wee bit too high, or there's an element of fear that comes with like there is potential for this to happen, and in a tree that's everywhere. That never ends.
Sure. Yeah.
So new song out tomorrow.
New song out tomorrow. Briefcase Talk. It was, as I said to you, I rented this place out of just short of Aramoana, maybe like sort of in between Port
True,
Chalmers
I've
and
heard
Aramoana.
talk
Yeah.
about this. So how did that come about?
Where did I get back from? I got back after tour, but because the flat I live in at the moment, there's people above us, so it's not ideal recording or just doing
Right.
anything
Can't go too
musical. I can't go too hard, especially after hours, which is when I most enjoy making music. So I found this place, and it was kind of like a farmhouse, like way up on the hill. I could sort of see like the whole harbour and everything around me. And I was just like, yeah, I'll grab this for 3 days, and then 3 days turned into a week, and eventually I think we got to like 3.5 weeks.
Sick.
It was so nice, just to switch off again. I think because obviously we came out of lockdown, then I went straight into tour.
Yeah, it sounds like a more organised, productive time.
Yeah, and all the friends were coming up for dinners or just to come and do their own creative things, and
Thank you.
it turned out really fruitful. And this was probably in like the last week of me being there, and I started a beat, got it to a certain point. Ruben, or Scotty, or frontman of 3/4 Marathon, he came up and put a bass line on. And it was just like instant. This is what I've been looking forward to end the year. Like I really did want to single out for summer. I haven't dropped anything since January. I was like, I want to go out with something, go out on the summer circuit, but I just didn't have the right. I had some songs, but I didn't have the right one.
Sure.
I wanted something hard hitting to like put a full stop on the year. So it just happened, and then I managed to rush it through somehow. So yeah, out tomorrow.
It just came to light. That's cool. That's the best times, like in music production, when something is a hit. Like it's that spontaneous sort of thing. Like it's hard to go, right, I want to have this kind of tune for the summer and really get something out of nowhere that really hits like that. It's only in those moments, at least in my experience, where you're just fucking around, or it's just a once in a blue moon, or like one random afternoon where something just clicks, and then everything else just sort of clicks into place. You're like, right, here we are.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was exactly like that. It wasn't like I was a string sample that I found, and I chopped it up and played a few notes of it, and I recorded that, and I thought, this is nice. But it wasn't even, it wasn't until like I put maybe a couple of lines on it, and we played it back, and I was like, oh shit, that's the one.
That set you off a wee bit.
That's the one I was looking for.
That's sick. Sometimes you don't know that too until you have vocals on top of the beat. Like the beat can be so dry or so like unfulfilled, and I think that's part of the beat making process is to just, even if you just sing some random shit or some random melody on top of it, just having that element, even as like an instrument there, sort of helps build the track as well. And once you've got like that first line, sometimes I can imagine in your style of music, once you've got that opener,
exactly.
it's like, oh, here we go.
Bang on. And I'm a shocker for making something and being like, this is awesome. Like, I'll definitely put something on this tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and I'm like, I've lost that.
Yeah.
But if I do it, I suppose it's a separator. If I've got a really good beat and I'm like, okay, I'm putting something on this now. And even if it's just one verse or a hook or something, I'll be like, oh, fantastic. But if I leave it, I might as well just go straight in the bin.
Yeah, and fair enough, man. Like, I mean, sometimes the best, again, like back to that sort of spontaneous thing, like the beat that'll be the best, or the song that is going to work out the best, is the one that you end up committing for that afternoon, because you're in that zone that whole time.
Yeah.
It's nice to sleep on things and come back to them if it gets a bit like, ugh, where can this go, you know? But sometimes you just have to keep like doing it, and that's like the best shit can come out of doing that.
100%.
Yeah.
And but usually what would happen is similar but different. You know, the songs I have out, I recorded like 75% of it, and then I'd eventually, slowly over weeks, just at turtle pace, like finish it, and then sit on it for a while longer. And then I'm notorious for being like a week out, like, okay, I really want this out now. And I was previously just distributing it by myself, so I would just go into TuneCore and like upload it at the very last minute, like just push it to the absolute limit, and just to get it out by the next Friday. And that was it. That was my release plan, which was a nice way to do it. And, you know, coming out of summer, I was like, right, I need to be slightly more organised. But this, I just completely gone back on that, because I made this and then I was like, can we get this out in time? And they were like, yep. Yeah. And so it's just been a mad rush to get it done. But I'm just assuming that that's how it will forever be.
Yeah,
when I act on, you know, what I feel, and it's hard to predict stuff. I can't do it that way.
Yeah.
I just have to act on
an impulse.
An impulse, yeah, for sure.
So you're with Sony now.
With Sony now, yeah.
That's crazy. How did that come about?
I think I never really thought about it too much. I was pretty hard up independent for the start of it anyway. When I first began, I did probably come at the industry with a bit of a vengeance. Like, I hate all the shit out here, you know. And I just toured my ass off for 2.5 years.
Yeah, some big summers there.
Yeah, and I got to the lockdown, I was like, well, I would kind of like to take a wee bit of pressure off myself. You know, the bigger you get, the more phone calls and just everything that goes into it. So I was like, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take some stress off of me. And then just started exploring it. And I previously knew James, or Jimmy, as we call Uncle Jimmy, Jimmy Mateo, but way before we had even discussed it, and also Jaden, who's in Leisure.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd met them both, and I knew them really well. And so when I probably said to Jimmy I'd be open to just having a look at it, it just sort of went from there, and there wasn't any reason why I thought, why not? And it has, you know, I've only had limited insight into how it will go, but just with the first one, it's been easy as pie, and they'll push it a wee bit more, and it was probably the right time. You know, I'm not going to say I've done everything I can in New Zealand, but I've got to a level now where I'm like, okay, I need the next step. You know, if I'm going to take this next step, it should be now. So it just sort of happened, and it probably took the whole of lockdown to sort out.
Sure.
We got to the end of it, and so it's all done.
That's so sick.
It feels nice.
So you've still got your independence in terms of like how you're making the music. Like, you're not sort of getting pushed to sort of
do anything. Not at all.
That's
not
awesome.
at all.
That's
and I think that comes with just knowing the people there quite well, and meeting and talking to them a lot. Yeah. It's sort of up to me, you know, but also they will give me a kick up the arse every now and then.
But it's good though, you know.
Yeah,
you need people to be like, right, come on, mate, we need something from you.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you can easily get lost in that process of just making stuff and being like, oh, is it good enough? Is it not?
For sure.
It's like meeting deadlines, you know. It's like if you're studying and you've got to test due, you're going to work a lot harder to get the test done. Similar sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. What was I going to say? They knew what I'd done the last year and a half, and how much effort I'd put into it, and how much of a sort of a base I'd built. Yeah. So they weren't trying to change that at all.
Yeah, that's good.
It's more just some support and a great team of people that are ready when I'm ready, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
And working with Garbage and stuff, like you say you've done a lot of stuff like sort of on your own, a lot of stuff has been creative, but like you've sort of had that platform too with Garbage to be able to sort of like facilitate stuff as well. Like, how has that played?
Yeah, I mean, it's done everything for me, you know. I'm very lucky to have Riley as my right-hand man who can get a video together for me and just look after that whole side of things and to do it, and not just to do it, like he does it incredibly.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky in that sense. And then Damo with production at the start, you know, and throughout, and will forever be there helping me, and he's got a library of knowledge compared to me.
For sure.
So I was very lucky, you know, to start off that way, and even Tane showing me how to start up Logic and use it.
Yeah, hard.
Back at Duke Street, you know, like I'm very lucky to have the people around me that I do. So,
Yeah,
and
best group of people to come up with like musically. Like I was so overwhelmed with the work ethics and like the goals everyone had when I sort of got introduced to that group. And it's just sick to see where everyone is now. Like it's one of the most passionate groups of people that I've seen, at least in Dunedin, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those perfect things that just sort of happens. You can't control it or make it, you know. It just so happens that my friends are incredibly talented and the stuff that they make is sick. You know, like, I think it's the coolest shit.
Yeah.
So you get behind it so much, 100%.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
It's not like we're just doing this just to do it, you know. It's about a bigger picture. So
definitely, that's so cool. Yeah, I've sort of like asked you this already here, but like, it's hard to really see yourself. Like, I presume you're never going to get to a point where you're like, you don't want to get any bigger than you are. Like, could you see yourself living anywhere else aside from like Dunedin, like within New Zealand, or like,
no?
This is definitely the hub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might just be a familiar thing from when I was a kid and I didn't really go anywhere. Maybe bar Christchurch in school holidays, but I have so much love for the city and I can't imagine myself anywhere else. I go to Auckland and I like it for a week and then I'm like, get me out of here.
Yeah,
I go to Wellington and that's the same situation, get me out of here. Christchurch I was in for a year, you know, after high school. And that was great and I met some of the most important people in my life, but there's just something about the city that's so perfect. It's like changing something in an engine if I go anywhere else.
Yeah.
It just doesn't quite fire as well, or I'm not as used to it. It might just be one of those things in 10 years where I do go somewhere else, but right now I just can't see myself being anywhere else.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so good to hear, because I feel like this is definitely like a place that is popping off, and definitely a place that a lot of people are looking at and sort of think like, oh, you know, why live in Dunedin when you've got Wellington, Auckland, rah, rah, rah. But there is so much happening here. It's just like it's not as elevated as a lot of stuff that you see sort of up north, and there's so much happening here, and I'm the same as you. Like, I'm so content being here. Like, I personally have a pretty good setup, so obviously it's not the case for everyone, and you know, wouldn't even say twice about anyone moving away for any one reason. And obviously there's a lot more opportunity in places like Auckland and Wellington, but just the community here and the stuff that's actually going on is just like, it's missed. Like, there's so many people that do come down here, like that I've experienced or, you know, hung out with or talked to this year and last year that you know, they've come here and been like, oh, right. Like,
this
is
like.
pretty sick, you know? Like, it's so easy to judge a book by its cover, you know?
For sure. And I've had a few people move down from Auckland to live somewhere like here or Wellington, and they do end up moving away probably 100% of the time. But I think that's because it is part of the fact that we do have a lot going on here, but we also don't. So it's what you make of
comparatively.
it. Comparatively, yeah. The city is what you make of it. And it's more the lifestyle that I enjoy. I'm not here for everything that goes on in the city. I'm more for the type of living you can have when you live here. And at the same time, you know, I have this conversation a lot. You know, surely you moved to Auckland now, like you almost need to, wouldn't you? And I'll be like, we live in New Zealand, like it's a 2-hour flight. Yeah. It's a 2-hour flight. Like it's not like I'm living in LA and you guys are in New York.
Yeah, for sure.
2 hours, like I used to drive more back and forth from Christchurch.
Sure.
You know, that's like 5 hours every weekend, and that worked out fine for me.
Yeah, that's so true, eh? Because, like, especially these days too, with the amount that you can do on the internet and through social media. Like, I mean, apart from maybe a few more shows here and there in a city like Auckland, where the city is literally bigger and there is literally more places to play at, like, but still, you know, that's just a flight away from going up and doing that stuff, you know. Like,
and for sure, there probably would be a few positives to going up there. It probably would make my life easier in a few senses.
Sure.
But
I guess a lot of your management is up there, so is that right? Amy lives up there, so. But nothing that would
worthwhile enough for me to change cities. I just genuinely love it too much down here.
Yeah,
So.
it is so nice. It's so comfortable too. And I guess, like, again, it's sort of hard to say what other cities are like without being with them. And also, like, someone like myself, and I presume you're the same, that born and raised here, brought up, went to school here, like, you're so used to the Dunedin lifestyle. And people from Auckland and Wellington will be so used to that lifestyle too, that, like, experiencing something like this, for some people, it just doesn't make sense. And then for others, it just sort of clicks, like, wow, it's so much nicer to actually have, like, some, figuratively speaking, like some breathing room, in a smaller community.
I mean, the city is a student town also, so a lot of people come here for 4 years and they're like, okay, well, I've done my Dunedin.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like it's not a destination for people after that.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
they haven't experienced it in another way.
Yeah, and fair enough.
Yeah.
But, like, we do get looked at as the student population too, which sort of doesn't help as well. And the irony in that is that a lot of, the students aren't even people from Dunedin, you know, like people that are coming here and doing all the stuff that people will say they're doing, like the getting pissed and burning couches and shit like that. You know, half of that isn't even like Dunedin people.
I'm with you. And it's such an often conversation I have. Like, oh, you're from Dunedin? Like, oh, you must have burned a few couches in your lifetime over here.
Like, no, it's all you Aucklanders, mate.
I mean, but
no, I can't say that for sure, but
yeah, I mean, I've just
Partly
been around
true.
a few Dunedin people that have lit some couches on fire.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But also that sort of basis gives, especially with how the world is now, or just New Zealand in general, and how progressive we are getting slowly, this city will turn into, students play a role in the face and how Dunedin looks, but that can be a hugely positive thing.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The people that come here influence the city and essentially make the city.
Yeah.
So
absolutely true. Yeah, there's definitely two sides to that, and obviously it says something about our university that there is enough people wanting to come down and study here because it was so renowned for how good it is. This is from an outside perspective, never really have studied, but obviously that's a key sort of point, a reason why people are coming down here. But that is good. That's so true. That is a good point that there are a lot of people, like, because I guess Auckland and Wellington are considered more cultured cities, so having people come down sort of helps that in a sense, but it's still a very young population as well. So, I mean, it's hard to really see like what's going on.
It's more just how we could hold on to those people after, and so then it's not just a quick 4-year stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Like your first year is everyone should never feel bad about coming down here and just drinking
like,
for a year and getting involved in that life. Like,
exactly.
Fair enough. Like you're just out of high school. Like it's like you just got the shackles taken off you.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just more about keeping them after, because it's a beautiful city.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I don't have too much insight into this, but like the things that would be keeping people here, do happen often, but perhaps not enough as people were used to. And I guess depending on like what people have experienced back home, up north in particular, when they come down here, is it really like the same? Is there enough going on to actually sort of facilitate people? Like, have we actually got enough, even like tourism sort of things going on to actually people, I feel like the people that are actually, that do actually like Dunedin or have come here and been like this is a place I want to be, are the people that like the sort of out of city spots, like, the quieter things that you can do and sort of like the quieter lifestyle, which isn't for everyone. And especially if you've been living in somewhere like Auckland, it's going to be busy everywhere. So like it might feel quite weird and people won't like that and people will love that. So like
probably how I feel about Alexandra.
Yeah. You're right.
It's like, shit,
Honestly,
this is boring.
I've only ever seen like campgrounds at Alexandra, like as in I've only ever been at that part of it. I don't even know what the town is even like.
I mean, there's a main stretch. There are some shops. Like there's a warehouse. Usually that's a good measuring level for how big a city is or how much moves around the city. Like, can they sustain a warehouse?
Yeah.
And they do. So you got to give that to them. But man, it was a real struggle. Like my mother and my stepfather love going down there, like just any chance they can. Yeah. And it's for the reason that it's chill and there's not everything
and
going on.
It's hot there. Like it's a good spot to be at around summertime for sure.
For a couple of days.
Yeah. Not 6 weeks.
No, I think Mum goes down there for like 16 days and like, you just don't know what you're in for, even though she's probably gone in there last 3 years. Like, no, you'll go insane. No, you're going to lose it.
You got to have your getaway spots though, and that could be like what Dunedin is to a lot of people as well. It's just a getaway spot. But I don't know what the city needs, to bring sort of more people here. But all that being said as well, like, do you want more people here? Like as part of what makes Dunedin is the fact that it is somewhat sort of secluded and there is a smaller population. You know, do we want to flood it too much?
Yeah, I think the telling of that is what it's like here in December and January. Is pretty, like, it's probably almost a bit too quiet for me. That's the months that I'm not in Dunedin anymore. But I remember those times, you know, like as in high school or whatever, and you're just like, wow, the city is dead now.
It's so strange.
So it goes back to that thing, like, how can we keep people here?
Yeah.
And to just having more people, not just during the uni months.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
to give the city, keep it alive for a wee bit.
Yeah,
I
that
will
is
admit,
hard, though.
it does go dead for a bit, you know.
Yeah, and it is quite a shock sometimes, and like, that obviously proves the point that there was a huge student culture here, but also, you know, you can't really, like, if people are from Auckland and Wellington, they will have family there 90% of the time, you know. So like, often even if the city is popping, people are still going to go back home to see family stuff over this time of year anyway. Like,
For
it's
sure.
sort of like expected. But
Yeah. And
know.
it's probably just the size difference. You know, what are we, like 160? Something around there? 150?
Something like that.
I don't know.
I couldn't
Actually, it's
tell
probably
you.
shocking to me. But anyway, you know, like, if 40 or 30,000 of those people leave, it makes a bigger dent compared to in Auckland where there might still be the same amount of students. But
Yeah, exactly.
It's a town of 90 million, 100 people.
Yeah, it's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
It's actually, like, absurd. Like, excuse me, going to Auckland and being a Dunedinite, like, it is a fucking big city. Like, it's weirdly big, you know. You're just so not used to that lifestyle, and just like walking around, just shopping and things. It's just quite overwhelming. Like,
Yeah,
the
for
benefit
sure.
of Dunedin is knowing like exactly where things are and how to get to them so quickly. It's a strange place.
Auckland in December, January is. I could probably do the 2 months fully there because it is so enjoyable, and it's a time when the sun's out and you want to be doing things every night or every day. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is another thing about Dunedin is it's like true, and, you know, also a big stereotype that, you know, Dunedin has pretty shitty weather, and that is true. Like, it definitely comes and goes. But yeah, it's probably a huge factor that are putting a lot of people off as well. It's like you don't have a consistent like summer or anything, whereas like northern countries will probably get a wee bit better than we do, and that's fair enough. But you know, that's not something we have control over. You know,
No.
Yeah. Could you ever see yourself living in like America? Like, have you ever got that big? Like, moving to LA or something?
I don't know. It just seems so foreign. What was the conversation I had this conversation with someone last night. We were just talking about like how in your face the politics have been over there, but how much we see it and how much it envelops me. Like, I just remember just constantly Googling Biden on my phone over like that you know, 3 or 4 day period that just went by. I've been like, oh, who's actually going to win it? It took over my life for a wee bit there.
Strange,
So I feel like we get such a false perspective of what America actually is like. You know, everything we see is essentially American, you know, the music we listen to. So I don't know, it's just one of those things. I'd have to see it first.
Yeah, definitely.
But even just the thought of it does freak me out a wee bit, being like,
It'd be
leave
hugely
Dunedin.
overwhelming.
when I
Imagine
say
living
I
in
love
Los
Dunedin,
Angeles.
like it's serious. It's a deep love.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, and like you yourself, and also like your artistry is born and raised here. You know, like it's always going to be home, no matter where you are, right? But man, living in LA, that would be so intense, because, in particular, LA, because there are so many people like wanting to do the same thing. Like, if you're in the music industry, the art industry, whatever it is, there's going to be so many people that are wanting to succeed in the same way. Like, there's so much more competition. It always makes sense to not go there, because there's too much going on.
There's too much going on, yeah.
You know, like, you're always going to be the standout if you're, you know, you look at someone like Young Lean, like a rapper from Stockholm.
Yeah.
Like, that's so different. Like, we hadn't really ever experienced that, and now sort of, are we Western compared to them? Like, I guess in American culture, like hip hop
guess so,
culture.
yeah.
Which is strange, and that's like New Zealand artists popping off now as well. Like, Benny's doing so well. You feel like the next artist come out of LA just sort of like fits within everything else, and it just becomes not so exciting. You know?
For sure, I got you. And I think one thing I've been probably preaching lately is just like not making big decisions like that at this age. Like, it's not something that you have to. It's not like I'm lucky. I'm in a very privileged position where like I'm 24, and since 23 I made the decision to pursue music, and it's worked out. But like, just not setting yourself in concrete.
Sure. Absolutely.
Before like 30, at least.
Yeah.
You know, And, you know, just saying that to my friends as well, like, we're still young, you know, it feels weird sometimes because we were just 18 a minute ago. But,
Yeah.
So I think it's more just to the fact that I'd love to travel
Definitely.
and see the world a bit more. I've been to Australia when I was 2, and that's it.
Really?
It's
The only time you've been out of NZ?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I haven't, I just want to go see it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And make the tough decisions later on. It's for now, it's just like I'm content and happy here, and
Definitely.
everything's going well. So.
Definitely. And it's nice to be at a place where everyone's pretty close, you know. Like most of your friend group can be pretty widespread across Dunedin, but you can still catch up with anyone within like half an hour, you know.
For sure.
Yeah, but yeah, Jesus Christ. I mean, New York as well, like so condensed. Just how do you even be an individual in a place like that? And again, comes back to like what I was saying about the internet, especially with something like music. Like the only time you'd ever need to be there is to go and do a show. Like you don't really need to be based in a city like that to do well, you know.
Yeah, and it's also like not only are you moving over there into a new scene with that's 100 times condensed, it's also like you're starting a new life at the same time.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. It'd be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have like nice weather consistently though. Like I feel like that'd be one good thing about living in somewhere in America is you actually get like a summer. You know, you can sort of expect the weather, whereas here it's like we just had 5 days of stinking hot sun and then we get pissed down with rain like 2 days
but I
later.
kind
It's
of,
like,
you know, like I'm a bit of a vampire. Like, like I see the sun and I start to shrivel, sort of stuff. I'm
It is
okay
nice to
now.
balance
After a
it.
few rounds of R&B, I am, you know, the heat doesn't hit me so much.
Yeah.
But like the first year I did R&B, I got heat stroke. It was such a shock to my system.
fuck, yeah.
Just the sun. Sometimes it's so intense and I'm like, this is awful. I would rather literally be an ice cube right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that. And especially if you getting like sunburn and things on those stages.
It always happens. I'm just a useless, unorganised bastard. Like I went a couple of weeks ago, it was like the first roaring day in Dunedin, and I was out and about, and it just never. There's always one time in the year I don't put sunblock on, and I just burn so
dude,
bad.
this week, like I've burnt all over. Yeah, and you just get so complacent, and then that's why like New Zealand summers and especially Dunedin summers are so harsh because like you literally don't expect it. Like you're jumping for joy when the sun comes out, so you're just like, oh, here we are. You're not like it's already invested in the hot weather that you know to put on sunscreen or anything. And like places like America, you probably don't even need to half the time because the sun's not as harsh as it is here. Like it's actually scary how quickly you can get
You
burnt
don't have
here,
to
man.
tell me. You don't
Honestly,
have to tell me.
it's awful. How do you find playing R&B shows? Has that been pretty like as expected, or is it quite an overwhelming thing?
I wouldn't say as expected. How many times have I done that? Twice. Yeah, twice. So the first time was with Kev, obviously, and that was maybe 3 months after I put that first EP of songs out. So that was just a weird time as it was, and I think we were playing at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was probably like 4 people there, and it was so hot. So that was just an odd one in general.
Sure.
Just like so exciting.
Yeah.
In those times you're like, well, it just can't get any bigger than this, you know. Look at me, I'm at R&B, you know, it's something you tell your mother about. And then the next year was on the same stage, but I think I played at 12 or 11. No, I might have played at 11.
At night.
At night.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And the crowd, it just kept growing. It blew my expectations out the water, and it was the garbage stage. Like, can't ask for much more than that.
That's sick.
And so that was an incredible experience.
That's so cool, man. I've never really gone to, like, it's quite a big thing. Like, I really am only have some sort of imagination of what it's like. I've never really gone to a venue like that, but like pretty big crowd that you're playing in front of.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't know. We didn't get a good enough photo from the stage back, but all I could see was just people everywhere. Actually, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know if it's probably about R-rated, but I did my first amount of cocaine before that show.
No shit.
And so I was already flying. I was like, this is fun. Yeah, and then that amount of people show up and you're like, holy fuck, like that's a lot of people
Damn.
So-
What is that like? What is the experience like? Like if you were to compare it to something like MDMA, like how is it different in that respect? Presuming you've experienced that.
Honestly, I'm just not the drug guy that you should talk to. Like,
no, well, nor am I. I'm just curious because cocaine seems like one of those ones where it's like
Just
you're
popped
fucking going.
you know, it's more just like a big smack on the ass and your energy goes up. Whereas
Yeah, right.
I don't really get into the other shit. Like it's
Yeah.
a bit sketchy for me.
Yeah,
I'm
it
a
does
pretty
get
sketchy
intense.
person and
No, fair
anxious person, so I don't really get into much. But it was just more the fact that these two things were happening simultaneously, and it did go by pretty quick. But just like it's like you imagine watching something and then it skips to fast forward and it's got over in like 30 seconds, and then you're like,
right.
what the fuck just happened? Like, what was that? But
that's intense.
just in those moments, I'm a pretty wholesome guy, to be honest. Like I love like hanging out with my friends or the Christmas party we had the other night.
Yeah.
Shit like that gets me off. So
Definitely.
and that's the same. It's the same idea. Like when I look out and these people are here to watch Wax Mustang and all my friends are on stage behind me and Ballsy's DJing and like it's more just like a proud moment. And
Yeah, that's so sick. I've always dreamed of that, man. That's so crazy. Like, that's so sick to be in the position you're in. And like, I presume being in that sort of like status, you know, there comes its ups and downs, and there's probably not points where you're always feeling like 100% about something, you know,
sure.
but that feeling, sometimes you've got to be like, in that moment, got to be like, fuck, like this is
I am
absurd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know, even still to this day, we just did the tour and we did 2 nights at Tuning Fork, and getting to the end of that second night, I was just like completely stumped. Like I've put my best foot forward always, and I've worked really hard to get here. You know, no doubts about it. But at the same time, it's like I don't really deserve this good a treatment. Like this is a bit fucked up. You know,
Yeah,
like
that is crazy.
Yeah.
But that being said, like, I've definitely felt that way and still feel that way about anything that I do. But you've got to look at other people that are in big positions and, you know, really popular and doing really well in whatever industry that they're in. And they're probably in the exact same boat. Like, I bet for a lot of people that have got super rich and famous, haven't actually really done much. They've just been at the right place at the right time or with the right people and got an opportunity, and it's happened super easy. Like there's definitely artists out there that would have worked their ass off to get to where they are and put themselves out there, and perhaps were the person that didn't really have many friends or, you know, had to really push themselves to get on the scene. But there's going to be so many people that just knew someone or just
sure.
had that channel or that pathway there for them to be able to succeed in that field, you know.
Yeah, and I 100% did, you know, like as we said, me coming into music and having Jack Berry to the right of me and Riley starting to make videos, and we're close friends with Nick and Ruben.
Yeah, hard.
Like this is a rarity to have, and Damon had already opened, you know, a bunch of doors and met a bunch of people that
Absolutely.
ended up helping me out, and so yeah, incredibly lucky.
Yeah, definitely. It's so sick. And again, like you've tapped in, especially in Dunedin, you've just tapped into the market that is like, is undeniable. Like people just love that sort of, just that lad culture. I
Yeah.
don't know if you
I
know,
guess
you're
that's a
happy
word
about
to
this or
use
not,
it.
but that is it, man. Like they're
But
just hitting that on the head.
It's just because I went right through the same thing. You're
Yeah,
like my
yeah, for
first year,
sure.
I probably had the biggest year in the history of Dunedin. Probably broke the 365-day beer record. I would have smashed out the park. Like I've been through that life, and it wasn't. I haven't never been a guy to be like, right, I'm not doing that anymore. Like I always.
There's always
I've
something
always
in
do
you.
stupid shit and be irresponsible. So that part of me hasn't left me.
Yeah, and that's fun.
Yeah.
You know, that's sick.
No, I don't want it to.
Yeah. I mean, I think now that you have this platform where you do have a lot more freedom and like your workflow is sort of based around when you want to do things, presuming, that you will always have that sort of, you know, thing in you
100%.
that's going to do that. I mean, I feel like, you know, not the case for everyone, of course, but if you get sort of stuck into a job or career that becomes quite repetitive, you sort of lose your sense of childhood and ingrain this sort of adult regime lifestyle that can affect that immensely. But if you continue to sort of pop off with this, like if you continue to grow popular and you continue to have this lifestyle, I think you're always going to have that part about you.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Yeah. Well, how long are we at? No, am I going bad?
We're just over an hour.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Yeah, easy.
All right, I just won't break 5. If Silas did 5, I'm not going past that.
I don't actually know how many he did, but it was a fair few. It was
I'm
pretty
going to be
smoky.
pissed off if you tell me he did 5 and I do 5 and he's done 4.
Don't you want to win?
Not in this sense. I mean, I'm a bad smoker and I know it, and my friends know it, but I just get lambasted enough already for it. You know, like, oh, another one, Mush. You know, like all this.
They're good though.
I know.
No one can tell you
obviously.
different. I haven't been smoking much recently.
Do you want to try?
I would actually love
Absolutely.
one. I would fucking love one.
I was actually going to ask you. We might as well do this. I'm like, have you got any more beers here? Because like,
I've got some gin and some tonic.
no, that's right.
No, I don't have any beer. Actually, no, I do have beers, but they're not cold.
That's right.
You sure?
Yeah. Oh, wait, how warm are we talking? Are we talking like a cup of tea?
Oh,
Or?
room temp.
I'll take a room temp.
You'll take a room temp beer.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got.
I should have brought more of these things, whatever they are.
How are you finding? You've obviously had these before. It's pretty much just drinking iced tea now.
What, the cheekies?
Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, they're a Dunedin company, so I guess we got to give them a shout out too. Cause
Yeah, hard. This is quite nice actually. That first sip was like,
I'm with you. Solomon
but
brought.
now it's like,
Yeah, Solomon brought one in whatever day it was. Yesterday, actually. And I tried it and I was like, shit, that's full on, mate. And he was like, no, just wait. And I did. And I had a few more and I was like, they become pretty easy to drink. And I think they're obviously not fizzy at all. So
what's the company?
Cheeky.
Oh, they are called Cheeky.
I think they're called Cheeky. I'm going to assume
Shout
they're
out.
called Cheeky.
At New. Sick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wicked.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
I
Right.
haven't seen many iced teas out there, if any.
No, not on the
I have tried a
alcoholic, no.
couple of other ones that I don't know if are out yet, but it's a nice way to. I don't know about you, but I think every alcoholic beverage I've probably ever had in my life has been fizzy. You know, like there's been some sort of carbonation to it.
Oh, definitely.
Where
Definitely.
There's nothing.
Except for wine, I suppose.
That's a colourful looking 5
Yeah,
beers.
it's the funky bunch, rather. What do you want? Sophisticuffs IPA, Mothership Grapefruit APA,
I'm going to say no to that one off the bat.
Soul Train, that sounds like you.
What is it?
Peach Tea IPA. That's sort of a flow on. Rocksteady Extra Pale Ale. I can't even say that one. Parlayer Pilsner.
I'll take the Pilsner if you're not
There you
doing
go,
it.
mate.
Thanks.
I might have the Soul Train. Peach Tea. God, this is either going to be atrocious. One of the beers I had out of this was like a passion fruit beer or some sour beer. God, it was awful. So
I mean, I do like craft beer, like quite a lot. I'd probably get a craft beer if we're at a dinner or anything. We're just out for a beer. But sometimes they just get a wee bit ridiculous, and it's almost like it's like a roast dinner and a beer. Or we've got a list of beers in our friend group that people have ordered and they've brought to the table, and I've been like, "What are you doing?" Like Tep one day got like a beetroot sour, and he tried. He's like, "Oh, I don't really like that." I was like, "Well, surprise, surprise! It's a beetroot sour."
yeah, to put two and two together, mate.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't order a red one.
Yeah, he does like the red ones. I can't get.
Apparently, I can't believe that anyone likes red wine. To be quite honest,
I'm with you, but out to Pilsner's, out to like. Well, no, Pilsner's probably as far as I go, really. There's a few others, but I like a hazy.
hazies are good.
Hazy's good.
I think hazies are a bit trendy as well now. I feel like every man and his dog's drinking a hazy. I might use this one. Oh, I just got ash on the microphone.
It's just I think they're like a 3 beer thing. Like, I mean, I've had numerous nights on more than probably 12 craft beers, but you don't. It really takes a toll. You know.
Oh yeah. I don't. If I know I'm going out, I'm not drinking those anymore. Like I'll have one if I come home from work. I have some craft beer, something.
Yeah.
But if I'm going out and I'm going to get pissed, then I'm not going to have like a 12 pack of IPAs. Jesus Christ.
No.
Yeah. I've had a night on pretty strong, like pretty high percentage IPAs, and I had like 4 or 5. My throat was just like, I swear I got sick from just drinking the beer. It's not good.
Yeah. I've just spelled that all down me, haven't I? Unbelievable.
You did that with the first.
I know.
You know where your mouth is.
So I'm slightly in a weird angle. I'm just going to... There we go.
Do your adjustments.
Right.
Thank you. This is lovely.
What do you reckon about the longs?
I mean,
There's quite a
maybe
few.
they're a wee bit longer.
There's quite a few. I tell you, they are.
I just like the grip.
You like the grip?
I just like the room to actually hold something.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't like. I love smoking a rollie, but the tiny wee filters, like you have to really have it like
Have
on
it
the
quite pinched
right
too.
on the end. Yeah, this is a bit more freedom.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could talk cigarettes all day, to be honest. Like, I've been through a lot of brands in my
To be
life.
fair, I think the 916 listeners are getting a wee bit sick of the cigarette and vape talk. Seems to be the go-to.
That's fair.
Gets a bit much. I mean, everyone does it. Everyone knows about it.
Yeah. That's fair.
So what else you got working on, Hamish? I mean, Wax. I mean, Mush. I mean, Mustang.
Just whatever. Obviously, summer's coming up, so there is R&A, R&V.
I was going to say you've got quite a big spot at R&V this year. Is that right? I saw like you've got your own little poster thing.
Yeah.
So what's the story? You got the big stage.
Yeah, I've got the big stage. I'm assuming the time's right. I think it's 6:30, but don't quote me on that.
A good time. Because how long does R&V actually go? There's like afternoon sessions, isn't it? So it goes right through
a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, so I think you can go there on the 28th and they have some form of music maybe.
Yeah.
But 29th, 30th, 31st for sure. So
3 days, man.
3 days, yeah, which is, I was talking, how much I love R&V. I've been the last couple of years. I just love it. It's just as a punter. But obviously I've got a different experience to what the general crowd would have. Yeah. I personally don't think I could do the tent thing for like 3 days and just get
Jesus
hammered.
Christ, no.
No.
Fuck no.
No.
I hate spending one night in a tent, let alone that amount of time in a tent.
Yeah.
Especially in summer, like that's just disgusting. Waking up in a pool of sweat.
Yeah. But just that sort of stuff and the admin that's more going around it, like when I first started playing live, it was just sort of show up, hope there's a decent mic there and hope Ballsy can plug into something. But now it's...
Shout out to Ballsy, man. He's the best man to have on stage with you.
Yeah.
So sick.
It was one of those comments like, Tane originally did it and Tane was great. Tane was fantastic. But I was like, actually, me and Haim, or Ballsy, have been probably the main two in our group forever since we met him.
Yeah.
That have listened to hip hop and have traded other people's verses forever. You know? So it was just like a natural thing, and he was already DJing a wee bit. So he's just slotted right in, and I don't think I could do it without him. It definitely wouldn't be the same. Yeah, he's the lungs behind it. Like, it's a good way to put it. Like, I run out of breath in 10 seconds. I smoke and I'm heavy. So.
But it's crazy because your presence alone is enough to get a crowd going, but he's in the background going crazy. Like, he's a whole nother like performance in itself.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
Yeah. So, and it's cool for him to be up there, and especially the songs that he gets to play before I come on. Like, he gets.
True.
Honestly, I say to him, with a bar a few shows, I'm like, just whatever the songs you want to play leading up to it, you just go for it.
That's so sick.
Usually there's an Aussie or just whatever he wants to throw on.
Yeah.
I just say you can't sing.
And you can trust him to put on something that's gets people going.
100%. 100%. But
he's the one guy that, like, of all people that know music, I feel like he knows more than most people that I've talked to, and he's got the deep cuts, and he's always got something that will slap at the right time. He's one of the guys that can like pick the room and play the songs at like wherever it is, and it's always like fuck yes.
Yeah.
And he trusts himself too. That's like what makes you trust him, is that he knows what he likes and what suits, and you just like, cool.
He I'm a musician and I listen to a lot of music, so music is obviously the main thing in my life. But when we did our Spotify end of year things, we put them in our chat, and I think mine was like 25 hours. I think Damo was like 20.
Or like individual listens and stuff.
You know, like
your artist thing.
No, not artist wise, just like personal Spotify review.
Sure.
And he was at like 65 hours, and I was like, that's freakish.
65 hours of what? Playtime.
Of playtime.
65 hours.
Oh, was it, or 65,000?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that there was a K there.
It's like, that's not a lot.
No, yeah, it was
like
ridiculous. It was like 65,000 hours, and I was like, shit, you've tripled me, and I feel like for a good 50% of the day, I'm listening to music.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, I don't know.
Honestly, that doesn't surprise me, because you know how you have the friend like list and you can see what people are listening to? Mm-hmm. He's constantly playing something.
Yeah.
Every time I open Spotify boards, he's playing something.
Yeah.
I don't like, and then when you're with him, he's not listening to music.
No.
But then like,
no, it's
the way.
And he plays a bit of Xbox, and he sleeps like he's hibernating. So that's just probably a bit rich, but anyway. So
sick.
Yeah, he's just got a wealth of knowledge, and obviously his art thing on the side. It just all interconnects, and I'm very lucky to have him.
That's so sick. It's cool to have a best friend along for the ride.
That too.
Yeah.
Like I'm going away to these weird places or main centres, whichever one.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to just go and do that, but then to look across them, I've got Riley and I've got Ballsy. I'm like, shit, that's the best part about this whole thing.
Yeah, that's so sick. Man, that's the best. That's what's been so good about Garbage is everyone's pushing everyone's stuff out, everyone's sharing stuff, everyone's got someone to go to if they need to. There's always going to be someone along the right. Like you guys have done R&V these last couple of years. It's not like you've just gone up because you've got a spot. Like everyone's got a spot.
Yeah.
Not everyone, of course, but like
Most
majority.
Yeah, for sure.
Have had a spot, and it's sick. Like you can go up together. You know, that's so crazy to actually think that
Yeah,
a
I
group
know.
of friends is involved in these R&V.
Yeah,
things,
and you do get too lost in the actual motion of doing it without stepping back and thinking about it. Because, I mean, there's a million things with Garbage that we could do better, or we want to do, or like, we're constantly talking about it. But just to step back and be like, hey, actually, that's weird and
So
fucking
crazy.
cool.
Yeah, it's so sick, and that's just become like, I obviously friends with everyone in Garbage, and you know, haven't had a lot of contribution to the label, but like just being in and amongst, you know, the group and everyone playing stuff, it sort of just becomes normal, you know, like third time playing R&B, it's like, oh yeah, sick, going up for R&B, but it's like, that's pretty crazy. Like the amount of, like,
sure.
Granted, there's a lot of people that play at R&B in those big shows and things, but like to have it consistent and you know,
Yeah, and it's so easy to forget and get lost in what is going on. Like, I just have to think back to how I felt the first time when I first found out that me and Kev were doing that slot at 3 p.m. compared to what I'm playing now.
Yeah.
But the excitement then, like, that's cool mum sort of stuff, and be like, holy shit, like, I'm about to go and play this festival.
yeah.
So, yeah.
That's the
Amazing.
crazy thing about you in particular is like you mentioned before, you haven't really put out any music this year, but you're still like crazy up there in terms of like popularity, and like people are still listening to your music constantly. Like you've done so much with so little.
Yeah.
Like your Spotify is not loaded, like because you've really just got like the one tape, and everything else is just sort of singles, right?
Yeah, like
Or
the
is
tape's not even up anymore. I took it down.
True.
I've had a few angry messages, but yeah, I just had to get rid of that one. But yeah, I think it was over those 2 years, I probably had a single every 6 months. I think there's only 5 on Spotify, 6 tomorrow, but
That's crazy.
and a couple of them have got to come down because I hate them. But
I was gonna actually ask you about that. Like, are you quite sick of any particular songs now? Like, do you sort of dread performing anyone's
no,
song?
I don't
Is it
dread
all-
performing. There's just a few that, I mean, I don't. After my music comes out, I don't listen to it. Like, I maybe once every 6 months, or unless I'm playing it. But there's none I hate performing live, or I'm like, oh god, this again.
Yeah.
I'll never get sick of them. Like, I'll never get sick of Honey and
Yeah.
people singing that back, or no, I'll never get sick of that.
So-
But there's definitely a few that I'm like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
If someone else had put this out and I was listening to it, I'd be like, that's awful. So
Yeah, and I think that probably reigns true for most people, right? Like looking at your
of
own
course.
work is,
Yeah.
is extremely difficult sometimes. But I guess with music, this is just a presumption again, but you know, there'll be because you've worked on something for so long, and to get it through the steps of being completed. You know, it's not like just to relate to something that I do, like a painting. Like when I do a painting, it's done in a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's hasn't been much thought into it. It's just like a sort of expressive thing in the moment.
conscious sort of.
Yeah. Whereas like music, you do have to take it through. Like everyone has to take it through these particular steps through mixing and mastering to get to a final result that is published.
Yeah.
And I think in that, like doing that, you know, like we were saying before about having the beat on its own is one thing, but then to put vocals on it feels more finished, and then you get it mixed properly, and it just keeps developing and developing
Sure.
and developing. And then I feel like once you get something to a point where it is done and it's out there and you're listening to it back,
Yeah.
it sort of like takes away all of that creative like flow or that negative stuff you're thinking about during the creation, because it's like done.
for sure.
I mean, I can only presume that's true. Like
No,
just
it
the
is.
stuff I've
It
experienced.
is, but it's just, I mean, I enjoy every second of me making the music, but at some points it's like, fuck me, like I'm gonna fall over here. Like that last week, trying to finish this, the boys will tell you, like
Yeah.
I was in there from like 5 till 10, trying to finish just the end of the track and the second verse and just get it all re-recorded, and I was wobbling, like
Yeah.
I was like, I'm at my wit's end here.
So are you quite nitpicky? Or can you sort of get one take and be like, boom?
No,
got it?
nitpicky,
Yeah.
nitpicky, yeah, for sure.
How often would you like re-record something?
It just depends, like, because if I do the demo version first, and that's the part that's tricky, because you're like, okay, well, the actual how it sounds, I love it, but the actual standard to what it's recorded to is usually like not good enough.
Sure.
So it's trying to remake that energy actually becomes quite a task.
Yeah, sure.
It's like you fall in love with the first version and you're like, oh shit, what is this? You know, that doesn't sound right. Or it's the same with mixing, you know, like from what it goes to on my computer compared to what it ends up as is miles different.
Sure.
But for those first like 6 listens, I'm like, no, hate it. No, that's not right. But it's just getting used to it.
Is it a lyrical thing or like your own voice? Like how have you sort of come accustomed to your own voice? Because you have been like putting vocals on tracks, whether it's under Wax Mustang or TAF, which we could get into as well.
I don't think we should.
I think we should.
I think we actually beep.
But you've had experience like in putting vocals on things. Like, are you pretty accustomed with your voice now, or is it still like, oh Jesus?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, my talking voice and rappy voice is obviously a wee bit different, but that's just me pushing it out more. So I've never had any from the moment that I found that voice. It hasn't been a problem at all. Like I love listening to it back.
Yeah, because it is quite nice because it is that sort of American tone to it, you know, that typical sort of rap feeling, which sort of makes it more, you know, takes away from, you know, it'd be cool to, you know, really just slap a Kiwi accent on something sometime, but that would be hard to adjust to on your own. And also like for an audience to hear that and sort of like become accustomed to it. It is coming through, there's lots of people doing it, but like it's nice as an artist to be able to throw on an accent like that. Whether it's intentional or not, again, I'm just presuming, but like it must sort of drown out what you typically would hate about your own voice, because you can...
Yeah, for sure. You know when you like, someone sends you a video and you're talking in the background
like,
or laughing, you're like,
hell.
Is that what I sound like? But it's not so much a accent thing, like it's there a wee bit for sure, just unconsciously, but just more how I rap compared to how I talk, just like breath-wise, or like my stomach usually sucks in when I'm rapping, just to like push it out.
Sure.
So it's like I've met someone new, and of course I don't have any problems with them because I don't hear my normal voice in it
for sure
at all.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've had a lot of people listening back to this sort of going, oh, my voice isn't actually that bad. And I think the difference between something like a podcast or obviously a song compared to like just a random video of yourself is that it's actually recorded properly. Yeah. And like it's picking up the tones that are nice, as opposed to like just a random tone that gets picked up on your... Yeah, exactly. So there's that whole element to it. And I also think that with that sort of American twang to it, it's actually easier to project a lot of tones and words and things with that as well. I feel like the American accent sort of fluctuates in terms of its dynamics and things, whereas the Kiwi accent typically tends to be a bit more monotone. Yeah. So it sort of makes it probably more especially in a performance sense, to actually like express things a bit more.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting process, I can imagine. Yeah.
But yeah, no, like the actual recording process when I'm first recording and first listening back to it, I love that shit.
Yeah,
like I get pretty fired up in there.
Yeah, that's cool, and that's what makes music great. Presumably, you know, like you got to have the same energy in the studio as you do like on a live performance.
For sure, and
that just amps up, I presume, what it's like playing live. Is like the amount of time and effort and energy and passion you've put into something to be able to like play it back again. That's so crazy. Yeah, that's so sick. Yeah, I just like. I still can't get over the fact, like, I'm not even you, and I still can't get over the fact that you're like at the position that you're at now.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty weird. Like, as we've said throughout this, it's just like taking a step back is like, well, that's fucked up. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm having a bad time. You know, I'm having a great time with my life. I love my life at the moment, and I wouldn't trade it in.
Yeah, I think I can't imagine this is the case for everyone, but I think a typical sort of life in this, you know, job, I suppose, career, is that the greats are great. Yeah. But the downs can also be quite bad 100%. Too. And I mean, I don't know what you've experienced, if anything at all, but there's got to be some points where it does get, you know, crazy. Like, you know, living a normal life, like we were saying before, like could get to the point where, I mean, I'm sure it's already like that now. Like even just like if you're just around Dunedin, just doing random shit, do you still get approached like often? Like how? Yeah. Is it quite intrusive?
I mean, people are pretty good about it. I think that's probably just New Zealanders. In general.
For sure.
Are pretty polite. I mean, adding a bit of alcohol gets a bit different, but like I'll still go to the Octagon quite a lot, I'm sure, as you know, but I have to do that because otherwise I get too secluded and too anti that side of life when I don't want to be that guy. I want to go out and be amongst people who maybe have a bit more of a steady life, like
Definitely.
job or studying or whatever. Like I have to do that because otherwise it gets. I look at myself and like, oh, you're a weirdo now. Like I can't imagine myself never not going to the Octagon or my favorite bagel shop.
Sure.
And just it's that's unconscious though.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I sort of just go with the flow a wee bit.
Yeah.
And so if I want to do something here, then I go and do it. And
Definitely.
I haven't had
Can't
any
stop
bad
that.
experience. I mean, there's been a couple of times where I've been like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, really? Right now? Wheeze. Is like when I'm taking a... Anyway, you get the idea. Like, there's situations like that where I'm like, come on, but I know that that's not the full picture of it.
Sure. Yeah. And again, I think, the beauty of being in New Zealand in this regard is that, a lot of people are reasonably chill with that without being at a gig or something.
Yeah.
It's not like being in LA or something where you see someone and there's so many people that can run up to you and say some random shit.
Yeah, no. But like I can happily go about I'm not big enough to the point where I can't go about my normal life in Dunedin without every shop or everyone saying, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near that level, you know?
And it's weird to react like that here as well because we are not condensed with celebrities everywhere.
Yeah.
It is sort of more of a rare sight. So you almost sort of like stop in your tracks. Like I know if I was walking down Dunedin and I saw someone famous, I probably wouldn't bat an eye. And like All Blacks and stuff, they come into work all the time. Like I've served Aaron Smith once and I was like, this feels normal. Like I'm not like obviously not a huge rugby fan.
No.
But it's still like,
someone
wow,
that
this
does
is someone that
something
I've seen on TV and everyone knows who this guy is. But it was just like normal. And I think that's probably the case for a lot of people. It's not actually that shocking.
No.
You know?
No. And like I think I have to keep being visible for it to become more normal, you know, like I never want people to look at me and be like, oh, that's the guy, like, oh, he's got it sorted out. But I really don't, you know, like I enjoy rapping and I think I'm reasonably good at it. But in terms of the whole picture, I don't know if it should have gone this far. Like, I love it. Like, I honestly do.
But you can't plan for it, can you?
No, you can't plan for it.
Yeah. There's also a sick part of like, you know, just picturing like, oh, Wax Mustang's, he's going to get a pie, you know, like just watching that sort of interaction happen.
Yeah.
Because like it's weird to think that celebrities sort of do normal things, you know, to watch someone go and do something like that in itself can be like kind of a weird thing. Like, and not from your perspective, from like a viewing point, be like, whoa, this is he's just a normal guy, you know, and that's what it is for everyone. It's just it's just their job, but it's so like, you know, in everyone's field.
Yeah. I think people that were friends with me before this, you know, their one question is like, oh, like, how's it going? Or how do you feel? And I'm like, listen to me, like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah. Like, I'm enjoying it, and that's all I know. And it could end tomorrow, and that would be fine with me. Like,
so interesting.
I've had some. It's been a great run. I'm talking like it's ending, but it's not.
Yeah.
But you know, like that, it's that sort of sense. Like
the lead up
this
to
is
now.
It's like you know, your birthday coming along, and your birthday day is the best day on earth. But you don't expect that to last forever. You just enjoy it, and you live in it, and that's how it's going for me. You know.
Yeah. And I'm sorry we sort of keep coming back to this point, but you know, it's so interesting. I've never really had the chance to sort of talk. Like, granted, you know, not super famous, like American famous or anything, but like it's still someone that has such a mass following like you do in this country. It's just so interesting to sort of understand the other side of it, and you know, you don't even really understand what's sort of going on. It's so interesting to just be able to like, what is it actually like to be in the public eye? Because it is such a big dream for so many people, and it can actually turn out, you know, pretty bad for some people. Some people will probably end up in a situation where they actually hate being so well recognized, you know.
Yeah.
Especially people that are making a certain type of music, or, you know, are a bit more, you know, closed off, or the music is a bit more personal. To be like widely recognized for that could actually be quite intimidating, quite anxiety.
And I think it's probably, you know, like in the public side of things, like I'm sweet. It's more the personal side of things that probably takes more of a toll with older friends or just stuff like that. And me being like, I genuinely am super busy. Like, my day is, I've got to fit in making music, which I want to do, and all sorts of calls and decisions, and
it's crazy.
It's more the personal side of things that can go downhill pretty quickly.
Definitely.
Not for me, just like relationships with people.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like I'm a shocker at the moment for my mother, Gay, calling me, and I'll pick up the phone and be like, "What?" And I'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I was just in the middle of something. You know, like I've been on the phone all day. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Like,
That's crazy.
How you doing?
Yeah, I mean, even before we started this, man, you're on your phone doing promo shit. That's crazy. That's in itself. It's just like fuck.
And I hate that's the main side of it that I hate. You know, like I'm sure anyone that follows me can tell I don't post much. And that's for a reason. Like I don't want to be that guy.
For sure.
I can't. A certain amount of my day has to be allotted to music.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when it starts taking away from that, that's when I get frustrated.
Social media can become really overpowering. You know, like it gets quite stale sometimes to see some celebrities like constantly on social media. It's like, oh, here's such and such story.
Yeah.
You know, and you sort of just get drowned with this content that you didn't really ask for.
I hated it.
Yeah.
Like, that was probably, you know, as I was saying before, why I came into the New Zealand music industry with such a vengeance. It's changed now, but like people just generally don't care that much about you. You know? Like people don't need to know what I'm having for lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Or what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so full on with some people I follow.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you got to get off this thing.
Yeah.
Like, and it also led into what I wanted to project to people was some sort of mysterity. Because when I first started playing shows and I would end up on a few stories, people were like, who is this guy?
Yeah, right.
And I wanted to keep that.
That's sick. Yeah.
I didn't want that to change. It was, I think I saw Dr. Dre talking about it recently on that. Do you know that series he did, the Defiant ones? That wasn't that recent.
Yeah, it's been in my saved playlist for ages.
I think it was on there. He was like, artists are losing their mystique about them, you know,
Definitely.
compared to back in the day.
Definitely.
And so that's something that I have been very intently and consciously
Pursuing.
because he's right. Like, I can't be posting every day. Like, there's nothing for me to see, and people stop tuning into the actual content that I'm putting there. So.
You look at like DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
I don't follow him anymore for those reasons. But like,
I mean, we did for a bit. I did for a bit. I was intent. I was
hilarious.
always looking at the story. Like, this is fantastic.
But it gets to the point. It's like, yeah, bro, like you're doing the same thing every day. We get it, you know.
Yeah, or
there's irony in it, but it's also like it's pretty stale to see a DJ Khaled story now. Like it's not exciting at all, you know.
Yeah. Or another one that gets me is like people putting music. I'll do it like every 3 months as a big drop, but like people that every day put music on. I think we've had this conversation before. I think we had it about Astro World actually, and I was like, "Fuck, I've had enough of this." Like every person I'm following has Astro World on this story.
Yeah,
and I was like, "You don't have to do this. Like, no one needs to know that you." And it gets to the point that people start doing it just so people know that they're in tune with this on the first day out, or I'm just like. No one cares about this information. So
I don't think that I've ever like gone to listen to a song that someone has posted on their story. Like if someone's posted something that day, I'm never gone like, oh, I wonder what they're listening to, and gone and listened to that. Like no matter who it is.
Unless it's a reminder of something that I already wanted to listen to.
Yeah, for sure. But the Astroworld thing was ridiculous because that was such an overhyped album and everyone was wanting to get in on it. And it was like, it was so weird because it seemed as though the people that were posting the stories thought they were like sort of onto something that was like unique. And it's like, what are we talking about here? Like this album has been like in the works for years. Like, you know, obviously people are going to be listening to it and it's not like you're going to post that one track that's like, oh damn, I haven't heard that one or something. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, but it could just be me being way too looking far too into it. Like, why do you do this? When they are probably just like, oh, I like this album, I'm going to share it.
Yeah, and there's a humbleness to that as well. You know, there's just be like, wow, I really enjoy this track, I'm going to post it, but it has a stigma around it, especially with an album like that.
I mean, I can go back to the days of Tumblr when you'd have the you could make a playlist on your Tumblr for people to listen to.
And immediately it would play when you go into their page.
Yeah, it's like the dick swinging contest of what people listen to. It pisses me off, like, because I think it's probably just because of the variety of music I listen to, and I don't mean that in the terms of underground shit I listen to. Like, I will like Bick Runga all the way to like there might be a Shawn Mendes song out that I'm like, fuck, I'll listen to this over and over. Yeah. So it's removing that like beef up about music. Yeah. Like, just if you really enjoy something, then you can keep that to yourself. If it's something that you want to support or you see something that's local, then I understand it.
Definitely, yeah.
But for the most part, it's just a dick swinging contest.
Yeah, it is definitely, yeah. And also like, I don't know. There definitely is a charm to it with something that like you're feeling on a day, and you post a song that is like your mood. And granted, like I think it's better to like sort of post a song sort of on a story of something that you've done rather than just to be like this song and just put like their album cover up.
Yeah.
It's like what? Like
This
what
is
do you
completely
want?
hypocritical, by the way, considering tomorrow I'm expecting every single one of my friends to upload Briefcase Talk to their story, just the album cover. But that's what I mean. It's just two different ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, in fact, there's three different ways. You know, if you're in your bag about the song and you want people to know you're feeling this way, because sometimes that can be the thing too.
Definitely.
Then that's the way. But if you just like, I mean, Astro World, don't post that on your story.
You had some words to say about that album when it came out.
I
remember.
had some fierce words to say about it.
What let's dive into that. Like, what did you, considering Travis has got previous work?
I'm gonna have another cigarette.
Yeah,
what are we
please
at now?
do. What?
What are we at now? 3? We'll call it 3.
Hour and a half.
No,
3 what? Oh, 3 cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not bad, mate. You do think?
Well, I've got to smoke because now you got me stressed out about this topic. But
Let's go.
when did Days Before come out? It must have been year 13
Yeah. Oh,
for me.
well, we're the same age though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you are the year below.
I'm a
me.
year below.
Yeah, it would have been 2014.
2014, yeah. My last year of high school. So I was a DatPiff dog, like DatPiff being the mixtape site,
Sure.
where I found most of the rap that I listened to back then on. And I remember it being the whole banner for the whole side on the day that it dropped, but I hadn't listened to Travis Scott yet. Maybe I heard, was Upper Echelon on there? I think that might have been on there.
That would have been a big one from that.
Yeah, I think I
era.
maybe saw, that might have been the single for the whole thing. I might have seen the video for that, but I didn't really pay that much attention to it. But I remember that coming, the whole DatPiff changing to Days Before Radio. I was like, well, I've got to listen to this. And I was just completely dumbfounded and blown away. Like, I was angry. It was everything I wanted.
So
And it probably happened at the right time because, you know, before that, when Chief Keef came out and I first got onto him, it was a good split for me for the music I'd been so enveloped in, like real rap, you know. Like, it just completely changed my perspective on it. So then when Travis came through, I was ready for something like this. Heavily electronic and like angry and loud and obnoxious. So I loved it. I fell in love with that. And then Rodeo came and I loved Rodeo. And then Birds came and I was like, oh, he stays. He's going down the lane that I didn't want him to, you know. But there was a bunch of records on there I love and still listen to this day. And then I feel like Astro World was just a full completion of what I didn't want him to become. He became. But in saying that, there's like Coffee Bean off that and Astro Thunder. If you can't say, like, I'll still listen to those. They're still in heavy rotation.
Yeah.
But it was just a shame because I feel that there was a few cop-outs in there.
Definitely. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I mean, I don't really have any hard feelings towards Astro World. It was definitely like, it felt pretty commercial and it felt pretty, in that direction that, I mean, when you sort of get to that status, I mean, I feel like you're almost, whether you're actually meaning to or not, you're somewhat obligated to sort of put an album out that is appealing to what people like about your stuff.
100%.
And Days Before Radio is still my favorite Travis tape to this day.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see, because that was so unique in terms of what everything else was coming out. Like, that album was like all I listened to for ages.
Yeah.
Just the whole like really slow, mellow sort of stuff. And like, I don't know. I do feel like there's this weird sort of obligation to have something that's more hard hitting, and also like looking at the trend of trap music coming into sort of just before Astro World came out. It sort of felt like it seems as though he felt the need to solidify Travis within that type of trap music rather than like doing something real mellow.
For sure. And like, I'm just I'm a music fan, and I was that first. You know, it's not like I picked up a guitar first before I fell in love with an album. No, it's quite funny for me to, you know, talk about Travis in that way, because I can see of how that can happen now. You know, like having the pressures of music that people have fell in love with in mind,
definitely.
and that playing a part in what I make next.
Yeah.
Like, it just unconsciously does.
Yeah,
I think it was just more that, like, the music is still in the same genre. It's just which way you're going or what you're creating in that genre is.
It's still Travis's music.
100%.
You can't take that away.
It's not like it's different, of course, but it's not that different to his other projects.
Definitely. And you look at the amount of his music that is spilled into trap, like that sort of auto-tune melodic humming. Granted, that's come a lot from Kid Cudi, but that sort of like ad-lib, reverb ad-libs and those you know it's Travis when you hear it, but there's so much of that out there now. So I think Astroworld was, as much as it wasn't the Travis album that we wanted, it's the Travis album that sort of was needed, or like was solidifying Travis in the grander scheme of trap music, rather than like Travis doing something of his own take. You know, it's been like, this is me, I am the originator of this sound, and this is what I can do with it, sort of thing.
And the landscape is also changing. Like when, let's say 2013, 2014, I got my albums off torrents, right? Like, but I'd get them on the first day, or if they leaked early. And the first week was such a big thing. Like, is it, you know, like, let's say, for example, like when Good Kid came out, it was like instant classic. Like, that's what everyone was calling it. Yeah. But like, to give things time and let them brew, like, as I said, like when Astroworld first came out, I was like, I can't believe he's done this. Like, this is ridiculous. This is a monstrosity of a project. But, you know, as time has gone on, there's been tracks that I've picked up and been like, this is hot. I like this. Definitely. So, yeah, I mean, we're very quick to jump on people, but it's when you give stuff time to breathe.
Yeah, for sure. And like you say, there's still tracks within that album that you've picked out. Like, there's still that side of Travis. And when you're doing an album as big as Astroworld, there's so much room to fill in tracks with that older sort of stuff. So there's still a wee part of any album that's going to hit someone somewhere. It's just, as a majority, it can feel a wee bit stale. Yeah. Have you listened to the new Kid Cudi album?
Not yet. No.
Honestly, I don't know if I want to, because like, I'm not the biggest Kid Cudi fan, and no advocate for, you know, don't come to me about Kid Cudi, you know. But from what I know him to be, all I had to hear from that album was, I just watched the Anthony Fantano review on it. Granted, that's probably not something you should probably do before you go into an album if you want to hit it fresh. But it was there. And this is an album I'm super hyped for. So I was like, well, I might as well get like a general opinion about it if I'm not going to actually listen to it. And one of the tracks for the album popped up in the recommended on YouTube. So I thought, oh, well, I'll check it out. Yeah. And it had Pop Smoke and someone else in it. And I was like, oh, God.
I actually had started that one. I know exactly.
And it's a drill beat. And it's like, this is like a cool collaboration, but why is this on a Kid Cudi album? Like, what about drill? Like, I'm huge for drill music. Don't get me wrong. But why is that on a Kid Cudi album? It doesn't really make sense. And granted, I haven't listened to the whole thing sort of through and through, but like, where does drill music come into Kid Cudi's? Like,
I got you.
You know, like, it feels like this is just another album. It feels like Cudi's Astroworld in a way. And of course, this is could be completely invalid without actually having listened to the album. But I have this feeling as I'm going to get into it, that it's just going to be there. You know, it's more commercialized. It's more nowadays music. It's this artist doing what the theme of today is, rather than doing their version of their stuff. You know.
Yeah, and I think it goes artist to artist too. Like, for someone, Kid Cudi, for me, like, I've listened to a bunch of his music, and there's been songs from every project that I've really loved. But it's not someone I follow that intently. So it'd probably be the same. Like, there's been a lot of songs of Cudi projects that I haven't liked.
Yeah,
and
I think for the most part, I don't like Kid Cudi, to be fair. Right. Like, listening to a lot of his stuff, like, I've gone through a lot of his older albums, and I'm like, it's just not for me. Right. Like, Pursuit of Happiness, great song. Yeah. But, you know, I'm not going to pick it out of the...
No, that's fair. Yeah. I think for me, it's probably been like 3 or 4 off each project. Like, King Wizard is one of my all-time favourite Kid Cudi songs, and like, I'll forever listen to that. But he's just not someone that I'm not listening the day the album comes out.
Yeah, for sure. So no, definitely not. But it is a pretty big hyped album, especially like after the work that he's come out with Kanye, that sort of thing. It's like, everyone's like, wow, here he is again. You know, what's he bringing forward? But I feel like a lot of music today, especially in hip hop, because hip hop has sort of become pop essentially. Like, hip hop is, I think, probably still is, or at least saw a fact earlier this year that it was the #1 genre in the world. And I think in that, it's essentially just become pop music, right? So in that, it just becomes this stale genre again. Like, I feel like every new album that's coming out, like, I listened to the Lil Uzi and Future tape that came out.
Right.
Oh, it sucked. Honestly, it sucked. I just couldn't. I got halfway through. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, what are you doing here that hasn't been done already? You know, it's just getting really stale. Yeah. And I love trap music more than the next guy, but man, it's just like, what is anyone actually doing anymore? Like,
Yeah.
when are we going to get the next Days Before Radio? You know, who's going to be like? Is there even room for that
I
anymore?
think also, I was having this conversation with Damon the other day. I was like, because I make music most of the time, I've lost that want to go and find new shit or even just be the guy that listens on the first day. Like, it's just not me anymore. Like, I'm just not gonna do it. So I stumble upon things more. That's what I just rely on.
Sure.
For my everyday listening.
Yeah, it's that spontaneity aspect to it.
There's some artists that I have huge expectations for, and when something drops, then I'm instantly on
for
it.
sure.
But for the most part, it's not like hip hop as a whole. I have to be co-current with everything and listening and have an opinion on it. I'm just like, do what you want.
And there's a lot of demand for new music as well, and like looking at what Spotify are doing as a platform for hosting, like how they're sort of essentially forcing artists to like have new music out constantly, like sort of, you know, bi-yearly sort of thing. Sort of creates this expectation, and also this, like, as a result of that, you end up with too much music. Like, back to that sort of mystery part of the artist, you want to sort of like have an album dropped on you rather than be like a massive build up to something, which can be great, but like you can end up with sort of lots of stale projects in between everything
100%.
else that's great. Like, you look at someone like Trippie Redd. He's had heaps of albums out in the last couple of years, heaps of them, and I think a lot of that stuff is just throwaway. And I wonder why, like, what is the actual process going into these tapes, especially if they're like 15, 20 tracks
For
long.
sure,
It's
yeah.
like, what has actually been put into this? Like, I feel like a lot of hip-hop music, the reason it's becoming so stale and the reason like it's become so renowned is because everyone can do it. It's one of the few genres that actually anyone could really jump on if they have a laptop, right? So it's so easy to create the music. All you have to really do is like make a pretty simple beat for the most part, because a lot of what's catchy in hip-hop, look at someone like Playboi Carti, it's really like simple beats, like Pierre Bourne style beats. It's really straightforward and catchy, and it's repetitive, and that's what makes it nice. So as a result of that, you end up with all this real stale,
For sure.
like everyone's jumping on
And
it. They just
sometimes
want to
it's-
do it, so it ends up being rough.
Yeah, and it's
Whatever you
each to
put
their
to
own, but
this.
sometimes there's songs where I'm like, geez, if this made the album, what didn't? You know, like,
exactly.
Bugger me. There is like, I'm honestly all for people doing what they want to do, but at
Yeah.
some point, it's like the same. It's an old adage of like, yeah, you can have your opinion, but I can also have mine. Like,
For sure, yeah.
I'd just be like, what? How did this make it?
Yeah,
you know,
it's so
like,
strange, eh?
Yeah.
And I feel like artists like, if we go back to the Lil Uzi Future tape, I think a lot of what they've done on that album is sort of gone, oh, well, this is the worst of the bunch. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it seems like. They've just gone, oh, well, let's be different by making like not as good music. That's seriously the impression I'm getting. It's like, what about this beat is so appealing to you? And it makes me wonder what their actual taste is, or what they're actually trying to do with it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I could literally pull so many songs that sound just like this or way better than this, and from artists that aren't as big as these people.
For
And
sure.
I just don't know where these ideas are coming from. And
I don't know.
I feel like there's not a lot of like investment in hip hop music in terms of like sort of emotional connect. And granted, with a lot of hip hop music, it's not so emotional. It's more just like, oh, I've got cars and money and women, and I'm going to talk about it, and this bass hits real hard, sort of thing. So it's quite face value a lot of the time. Like, a beat just sort of gets in, they like it, they're going to rap on it, and it's done. There's not a lot of like, you know, it's not an album where you're playing guitar and you're sort of waiting for the feeling of something to come across, and it's intimate and it's slow.
Yeah.
You don't have that connection, so it's just like, yeah, that slaps. Let's put it out.
Also, like, another thing to think about is that most of that stuff is put in front of you for a reason. Like, once you, like, Ballsy's been listening to some rap recently that's put me onto a few different things. Like, he loves this guy from New York called Mike.
Yes.
Yeah, which is fucking awesome music. And so it's just like, don't be so angry with what's put in front of you. If you actually do some digging, you will find shit that you like.
Definitely.
And that's just the ease of access to listening to music now has caused that, you know, like, whereas you used to have to wait an hour for the torrent to download.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah.
Or
we build up
you
to
had
it.
used your 5 free downloads on DatPiff. Like, like that was how music was.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
sick.
wasn't so, yeah.
Yeah, but you can look at hip hop music as a whole now like it's pop music, because you think about all the pop music that comes out. There's the occasional hit with everything. Yeah, I need to go to.
Yeah.
No, you hit
I'm
it.
wobbling.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
I can go for it?
Yeah, go.
Very loud pause.
Yeah, go. I'll just make the time note. No, I'm totally waiting for like the next hip hop artist to do something else with it, And I think someone like Mike is someone who is doing that, and like Earl taking a lot of that flow as well and like bringing that into a different sort of audience, I suppose, is pretty sick too. Like I'm pretty excited for someone to come through at some point, but it's going to be someone fresh, I don't think anyone. I feel like a lot of us are at a point like in their career where they are almost too big to do something like too unique in a way. I feel like Kanye's someone who's done that, but like it's kind of rare to see someone actually like almost create a new genre within a genre that's already popping,
Yeah, I think one person that has done it for me, and I think will do it again, is Kendrick, and like it's a pretty frequent pick by people, I imagine, but like that's for a reason. Like I think it's so incredible. Like, I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I've always sort of gone into his music pretty. Like I never really actually know, because when I listen to music, I don't take a lot of the lyrics into consideration, or at least I don't actually even really hear them a lot of the time. I'm just purely listening for the instrumentation, sort of the vocal melodies and things. So I didn't even really know that like Good Kid and To Pimp a Butterfly were like really cohesive albums, and like there was actually stories, conceptual albums that actually had stories sort of tied up in it, and I sort of had to like sort of took Good Kid at its face value, and then had to go back to and be like, oh right, this is what it's about, and then it sort of brings a whole nother feeling
how deep
to
it is,
and I get why people are so like crazy about those albums. I mean, just
me now rapping, it's like that is another level of, it goes past rapping or anything like that. It goes past artistry. It's like I don't know what it is.
Crazy, hey?
I think it's pretty impressive, but
yeah, that's sick. So are you working on are you looking to create an album at some point? What's your goal?
I've just been such a music fan. I've just been on albums. Like, I love albums. I love putting a whole album on.
I love to see what a Wax Mustang album looks like.
And I think I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I think next thing would probably be an EP.
Yeah.
And just take my time with that album thing,
That's sick.
Like I can only guarantee that there'll be one. You can never say, there'll be 4 albums to get it right. Sure. I want the first one to be
You got to focus on that one, because if you look too far ahead of what you want your sort of career to look like, that idea will either get stale or you'll never actually achieve that idea,
Yeah, and I think just waiting a wee bit gives me a chance to, if the first major thing they drop is an album, you get the artist up to that point, or it might be earlier than, let's say, per se, as I am now into my rap career. Yeah. So if you wait a wee bit and give it some time, you can give a perspective from just your life in general and your life now, and draw on that. And it's just not something I want to rush. So
for sure.
It'll come in time.
That's sick. It's super exciting. Well, at least for now, we can look forward to your track tomorrow. Pretty excited to hear that.
Yeah, I can't wait. It feels weird. I genuinely have forgotten what release day feels like. I know it feels.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's literally been like 11 months. So
that's sick.
I wanted to give something to the people before I tuck away.
Before summer, perfect time to release something.
Yeah,
sick, man. Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate you coming on, man. This was super fun.
You, Keys.
Hopefully, have something more for you to come on to do in the future. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
This was sick. This was really fun, man. Thanks again.
Thanks, Keys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, mate.